So we're continuing the topic we spoke about last year. We spoke about the topic of what is the mitzvah of one that is a matzil nefashos. What mitzvah does he have? So we learned the Gemara in Sanhedrin and we spoke where the Gemara explained that one that is matzil nefashos is Mekai. First of all, if he's not matzil, he's over the lab of loisama adam re'echo, and that is the chiyuv of atzolas nefashos. And then the Gemara says that we learned it out of Hashavas Aveda, and we explained what do we gain by both of these things. Today we're going to speak about that aspect, but more from the aspect of the doctor. A doctor as a matzil nefashos. What is the benefit that a doctor has from it? What is responsibilities that a doctor has from it? All these type of things. There's a famous Gemara where the Gemara says that there was a doctor by the name Abba Umna. And Abba Umna used to get a bas kol every day telling him Shalom Aleichem from Shamayim. And Abaye, that was a great Rosh Yeshiva, did not get a Shalom Aleichem every day. He got only every Erev Shabbos. And Abaye was jealous. And Abaye, whatever the Gemara describes, that Abaye was bothered by that, and Abaye found a way, and he complained, why is it that me as a great Rosh Yeshiva, I don't deserve to such a Shalom Aleichem like Abba Umna? And the Gemara says that the message from Shamayim to Abaye was that you don't have the opportunities that Abba Umna has. Abba Umna saves people every day, and he is able to separate between, to do, the Gemara describes there, to draw blood for men separately and for women separately, to keep the Gidrei Hatznias. He had a bucket that everyone could put the payment there without knowing how much they put. He used to, if he saw people that have an extra need, or to go to some vacation or something like that, so he used to give them even money. So the Gemara says that Abba Umna had an opportunity basically to be B'kayim mitzvahs that nobody had, and that's why he deserves a big Shalom Aleichem every day from Shamayim. So you see the schus that a doctor has as a matzil nefashos. The question is, but we see that Abba Umna he didn't do it for free, meaning he gave someone, right? He gave someone the opportunity to pay. So that means paying is a positive thing. The Gemara says, famous quote that everybody knows, Asya de Mogin Shavya, a doctor that does for free, that's what he's worth, right? So the question is, where does it start and where does it end? There's a famous story with the Chafetz Chaim also, that the Chafetz Chaim once went to a pharmacist and he told him, I'm mekana you, I'm jealous of you, that every day you have so many opportunities to be mekayim, so many mitzvahs by you preparing medications for people. And the pharmacist, as a simple man, told the Chafetz Chaim, yes, but this is my parnasa, I do it for parnasa. Says the Chafetz Chaim, listen to me, if you have an extra kavana, when you do this, you have an extra kavana of mitzvah, you should know that you're going to be mekayim a mitzvah, you're going to be mekayim a great mitzvah, even though that's true that your first motive was to go and become a pharmacist for parnasa. And the truth is that when you look, the famous Gemara in Sukkah, where the Gemara says, Shluchei mitzvah, what is considered to be a shliach mitzvah? Do we say, Oisek b'mitzvah poter min mitzvah? One of the benefits of a shliach mitzvah maybe is a Oisek b'mitzvah poter min mitzvah. And the question in the Gemara there is, are they poter from Sukkah or not poter from Sukkah? So the Gemara says, if they go only for a mitzvah, so they are poter, but if there is a parnasa motive, that's not. The question is, every doctor, in the end of the day, there is some parnasa motive also. So is that a chisaron or not? So the Bir Halacha in Simen Lamed Ches, Hilchas Tefillin, where the Bir Halacha makes a very interesting distinction between a tagar and a soifer. A tagar is someone that his business is to sell tefillin, to sell mezuzahs, to sell sefer Torah. He basically goes around from place to place and he sells stam to people. So definitely he is mezakeh people. But the Gemara, says the Bir Halacha, that is not considered to be doesn't have the privilege of Isaac the mitzvah, Patur min mitzvah, even though he's mezakeh people with mitzvahs. Why? Because after all, his whole essence is to go and to bring to people mitzvahs, to bring these mitzvahs and to sell it. Yes, if he has kavanah and that, he would maybe be able to have the mitzvah, but he doesn't have kavanah, he doesn't have. But a sofer is mekayim a mitzvah as he's writing. You're oisik the mitzvah because the mitzvah is also to write. You have a mitzvah of writing the Torah. So then when you are writing it, even though you have also a motive of parnasa, but that doesn't change the status and that doesn't change you from being someone that could really be oisik b'mitzvah, and it doesn't take away from you the privilege of oisik b'mitzvah patur min mitzvah. And why do I say it's a privilege? Because the pshat is, it's never a privilege to lose a mitzvah, right? We always look how to gain. But the fact that we consider you an oisik b'mitzvah, that is the privilege. The privilege is that you are doing and fully concentrating in trying to help people and give them the refuah, whatever you're doing, and that is oisik b'mitzvah, patur min mitzvah. Now, let's learn a little bit. How does this refer to a doctor? So first of all, we'll see the Mishnah in Adar, the famous Mishnah in Adar. The Mishnah says, "Amudar ano mechaveiroi v'nichnas levakroi oimed avalo yoshev." You have someone that is a mudar ano mechaver. He doesn't have. He basically made a neder, a shvua, a vow that he is not going to benefit from a friend, and the friend is a doctor. Okay, or the one that made it is a doctor, so he could go in to check on him, but he stands, he doesn't sit. Umerapeyu refuas nefesh, he could give him a refuah, he could heal him. Avaloi refuas mamain, the pashut pshat refuas mamain is if he is an animal, right, that takes care of animals, so he's not allowed to treat his animals. Right, etc. That is already a different thing, not nogat to us. When the Rambam talks about that, says the Rambam, one second, says the Rambam, avaloi refuas nefesh, pirush harav refuas gufoi umitzvah ka'ovid. The fichach merapeu b'yoda. It says the Rambam, since a doctor is doing a mitzvah, so he's doing a mitzvah, he could do it with his hands, and therefore he's allowed to. Because of miudavka sheyeh mishel mudar aval mishemadir loy. Says the Ran, very important. That's true. You could treat him, but if there is involvement of materials, of medication, of things that you have to use, it should be from the person that is the mudarano. Then he says, meaning whenever there is things that are mutter to do, but you're not allowed to do it in a regular way of handing it from hand to hand. Because of says the Rosh that this Mishnah is talking about where they don't take schar for the lavhochi pshita the osur lerapoise bechinam. Meaning, if they charge for it, so then for sure you're not allowed to do it for free because then you're giving him a direct benefit. But if you're not, no. So the Ran is referring to this case that we just spoke now, that he says that we're talking a case where there is another doctor and they charge and here he doesn't charge. But otherwise they say that it's refuas momin means a for animals, a refuah for animals. Okay, so this is this Mishnah. Look at this. Says the Tosfos Arosh on the Gemara in Maseches Brachos, and this is the Gemara Maseches Brachos that talks about the verapi rafi mikan shenitan l'reshus l'roife l'rapi. Mikan shenitan l'reshus l'roife l'rapi. Hiksha ari merolainish. Hiksha Rabbi Yaakov merolainish. Pshita lo v'lo yerapa roifim. Hoksiv Asher Weiss. What's the shaila b'chal? Every roife is mekayim a mitzvah of Hashavas Aveido. Pedal shinon zoya shavas kufoy. Veksiv loisam and adam reacho. What is this whole Gemara of Verapi lekan shenita reshus l'roife l'rapos? What do I need all of that? If a roife is obligated to be Verapi because of mitzvah of Hashavas Aveido or because of the lab of loisam and adam reacho, so that is a source to tell me. No, you're right. But the Mikan Shenita Reshus L'Rapoy, we learn that what that you're allowed to, says the Rosh, you're allowed to take a payment for it. If I would learn only from Hashavas Aveido or from Loisam L'Adam Re'echo, I would think that you're not allowed to take a payment for it. You're not allowed to be paid. According to the Rima or Leinish means that you have a reshus to take sechar. Here he goes to a very interesting Rosh. Now the Rosh says that I think that Verapi means to say that the doctor has a permission to be merapa things that came through human, meaning if somebody injured somebody else, so a doctor has, meaning as if comes directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If not the pasuk of Verapi Mikan Shenita Reshus L'Roife L'Rape, I would think that you're not allowed to be merape, and therefore as if you are mevatel gzeras melech, and that's why you have the heter to do that. That is the pshat of the Rosh. So we'll learn that. This Ramban, I'm going to learn with you quick, but this Ramban is a very important Ramban that every doctor should know it by heart and learn it with opening all the sources of the Ramban. The Ramban talks in Torah Sa'adam, talks about schar refuah. Nirali de mutar litoin mehem. You're allowed to take what? Schar batola v'tircha. We'll see in a second what does the Ramban mean to say schar batola v'tircha, but it doesn't sound too much, right? Because poyel batel doesn't sound too much. Avol schar limud. We'll see soon what that means. Everyone here knows what schar limud means and how expensive schar limud is. But we're not talking about that schar limud, okay, to what's called tuition, but schar limud asur, that's asur. We all agree to that. The avedas gufay, why is it asur to take? Because it's avedas gufay v'rachmana amar v'ashei. So you can't take, for example, if you find a lost object of someone, you're not allowed to take any money from it, only kepoyel batel if you lost a day of work or a few hours of work. Okay, mani bechinam, right? We say that linyan mitzvahs refuah. Mani bechinam afata bechinam hilkach. So Rabbi Yossi, we saw in the meantime, just for the words schar batola and tircha, we saw schar limud and now we see schar chochma. Hilkach schar chochma ve'alimud osur dehavelei kischar hazov v'kiddush. What is that schar hazov v'kiddush? The Gemara in Zvachim, the Gemara talks about when a kohen is mazeh, he throws. We read it this week of Parshas Bara. The way, right, is you take mayim chaim and you sprinkle it on the talmid. So a kohen is not allowed to take a payment for schar hazov v'kiddush. He's not allowed to take payment for it because that's part of his duty. It's part of his obligation. But schar hava v'milui, to go and to bring it and to fill up the water, okay, maybe for that, that's mutter. Also schar batola is mutter. V'chein kedetnan imo yozokein markivoi ala chamor v'nosin l'yischoroi kipoel botel shel oisa melacha de botel minei. But you're not allowed to take for the mitzvah of taking this old person. V'chein mi sheyesh lo sarevani v'chaveiro chole. This is talking about medication. Somebody has medication and there is a friend that needs a medication. So the Ramban explains you're allowed to take money for it, but not more than what that you're allowed to. And we're not talking about more in terms of hilchis oino, shtus, right, a six, these type of things. More it means to say that you're allowed to take whatever it's cost and a little bit more than that, not more. What happens if you have to buy a certain medication and the pharmacist, okay, or medication doesn't necessarily mean medication. You ask the doctor to give you some type of consultation or treatment, and the doctor gave a very, very expensive rate, and you said okay because of because you were pressured, because he is the only one that could do that. So he wants to say, then if you did in such a way, you could give him only the fair rate, the clear rate, and not the rate that he asked because of what's called taking advantage. So it may be that you could take even a fair rate of a few $100s an hour, what's called, but not something that is outrageous, meaning that it's clearly that it's taken because of taking advantage of the situation. So this is important to understand. We are giving him a fair rate, meaning because it's accepted that that is accepted to take, even though it may be sound to someone that it's expensive, but as long as this is normal, says the Ramban, that's mutter. And the Ramban brings an example of the Gemara in Yevamos Daf Kuvav Amud Aleph. The Gemara says, "Bas Chamua de Rav Papa nofla lifnei Yovam." It was a niece of Rav Papa that fell in front of her husband died, and now his brother was a Yovam she'eino hagun lo. He wasn't such a person that was fitted for her. So they came to Abaye. So they came to Abaye and they told Rav Papa, Chaloitz lo al menat shetiten lecho 200 zuz. They convinced this guy to give her a chalitza, and they promised him 200 zuz. The basar de chomlatz. After he did the chalitza, Abaye zid havlei. So Abaye told Rav Papa, go and give him 200 zuz. Meaning Rav Papa thought that he could say what? Meshatani b'cho. Rav Papa thought that he could say, no, I didn't really mean it. And Rav Papa says, maybe he could say, I just fooled you, because this person obviously understood that it's not right for him to marry her for whatever reason, and therefore what? He should have given her a chalitza without asking for taking advantage. Says the Gemara, no, Miloi Tanya, and the Gemara wants to explain, where do we say Meshatani Becho? The Gemara described of somebody that was running away, okay, from captivity by the Nochrim, and there was a boat, okay, a ship that was available for him to go in and to help him in his escape. So if he gives him, even though he gives him a lot of money before that, he doesn't deserve more than the, right? He doesn't deserve more than the schar, even though he promised him a huge amount in order to accept. But when he gets the other side, the Gemara there says he doesn't, is not obligated to give more than what is the fair rate. So Rav Papa comes and tells Abaye, don't we say Meshatani Bechol Pirush Afal Gav the Bechol Tnoyin Dam, even though anytime somebody makes a Tanai, even though if somebody, and unfortunately these things happen, that if somebody makes a condition that if you give a get, that he makes a condition that the get is a get only if he gives 200 zuz. Ein Beis Din mechayv enoy solitain. Beis Din would not force the woman to give them 200 zuz. Ela im nos na'arei ze get bimlav ein no get. Ochenami kevon shetnai bechalitza vekoysa melocha lebal habayis amenat v'schirus be'alme uleficho chiva abaye litain. It says Abaye, this is as if she rented him. Okay, monetarily, understand it, as if she rented him to give a chalitza, even though he may be obligated to do that. But since the deal was formed in such a way, so you have to do that. That's a red. So that was the argument. So he wants to say, okay, I don't want to go, let's skip this because we don't have too much time. We hear from here, anywhere that it's done, and there was a condition that is made just because of oines v'doicha kasho, whenever it was done just because of taking advantage, the person has the right to say Meshatani B'cho. I didn't really mean it. Now he makes a comparison to our understanding because he was pressured with the sickness. There he doesn't have to pay, only whatever he made up. But if he made a condition in the payment of the doctor, and he said the doctor made an exaggeration and asked for a lot of money, in such a case, he says, listen to this, in such a case, what? Why? The Ramban was a doctor, the Ramban could appreciate it. Says the Ramban, in the end of the day, this is not something that doesn't have a price. You sell wisdom, you sell experience, you sell something that has now, not that it's right, says the Ramban, not that it's right to give the price, but if you gave that price, once you gave that price, meaning no money could describe this idea. Now he brings, that's the Ramban's opinion. He brings the opinion of Rashi that says that he's potter and he can't take that. Okay, so when you learn it, you'll see. Now goes back to Ramban to what he says. But schar haroife that is worth any money, So if the doctor, whatever the doctor says, he has to give. So after Ramban a question, we just learned that it's a mitzvah to be merape. Right? Also, somebody that is running away, everybody he's escaping. Obviously, he's escaping from Sakonas Nefashos. Says the Ramban, listen to this. Any mitzvah say that is upon everybody. The pshat is like this. The pshat is we live in a world today that we're not the only ones there. We're not the only ones there. And therefore, I am not the one that is obligated to give you a refuah. Everybody is may obligated. It's not my obligation. You want me to do it. Therefore, I have the right to ask for mamoin. How much mamoin? That is already a fair price. Never take an advantage, and especially a doctor. If a doctor takes an advantage, then he has a problem with halacha. If he takes advantage of the price. But if that is the norm, so even though it may sound to someone expensive, that is mutter. That is the interesting, the Ramban. And therefore, the Ramban says, even though by ribis we see right, and we learned that you're mechuyev, that's true, but I'm not taking advantage. So if we want to summarize this topic, we want to understand that the pshat is that the schara roif and the Rabbi said this is a big, huge sugya. But I just want to touch it because it's a very, very fundamental and very important to know that. The idea is that a person has to check himself. Am I charging just because I'm taking advantage? Then you have a problem. Am I charging because this is a normal thing? And there's a lot of people, and they don't necessarily have to come to me, even though I believe that I'm the best in the area. That's good that you believe that you're the best, but nobody has to come to the best, and nobody has to come b'dafka to you, and therefore you're allowed to charge. When the Shulchan Aruch paskins lahalacha, the halacha of the Gemara and Sanhedrin that we saw of leisam l'adam reyecha. So if you look, so this is in the end of Choshen Mishpat, Ramish, the end of Choshen Mishpat. But the Sma says the following: says the Sma, right? The Shulchan Aruch says that a person could do that. Okay, in the Rambam it sounds a little bit different. You could see it inside. But here he says, the Kosva Rosh V'Atur B'Sibet Zeh Miu Yesh L'Momen Atzil Chayev L'Shalem Lo Behevi HaRosh Chaya L'Dover U'Me'atevo Shishmita Mechaber U'Mo'aram. Now, this leads us to the next topic that I want to talk about. And the next topic is, okay, I am mechuyev in the mitzvah of Atzalas Nefoshes. I have the right to take schar for it. That's okay. Very good. But now the question is, what happens? Am I obligated also to lose my job for it? What happens if now I have some conflict between Atzalas Nefoshes and my job? They don't allow me to do that, or something like that, and it's a conflict of leisamoid adam reyecho. In such a case, so I brought you sources that we're not going to go through it. The question is also in terms of the pashat pshat is, and of this sugya that we're not going to talk about, that if you learn from leisam adam reyecho, so the chura leisam adam reyecho is what? A lav, a person is obligated to give all mamoinah. Hashavas Aveda is a mitzvah saseh. A mitzvah saseh, a person is obligated just ad chomesh. So the question is this like a regular lab or not? So look at the sources I brought, and there's a lot of other sources. But the one that really teaches us halacha lemaisa this question is the Tzitz Eliezer. And the Tzitz Eliezer brings us, this question. Says the Tzitz Eliezer. וזה לשון שאלתו, מה הדין לגבי לא יסעשה שאין בוי מייסה? The Tzitz Eliezer already tells us, לא יסמוד אדם ריחו is lo yisaseh she'ein boi ma'aseh, because I am standing still. I'm not doing any ma'aseh. That is the law. Normally, when we say lo yisamod adam re'echo, when we say a lab that a person is obligated to give all the mamoina, is a classical case where an anos, right, when there is somebody that is forcing you to do an aveira, and we say give up all your mamoina and don't do the Aveira. But here when we talk about what Allah say, Shein boy maise, Aim Dino Kelo Yisase Shesh Boy Kum Vaase V'Tzarich Liten Kol Mamoinoi, or Aim Dino V'Tzarich Liten Rakat Chomesh. So that's the question he's asking: is this lav like a mitzvah saseh, or this is like a regular lav? V'Raisi B'Zdei Chebet Shemei V'Machloikes Gdoilo Ben HaPoskim. V'Chein Ra'a V'Darkei Tshuva. Listen to this. He understands that everybody agrees that you have to give up everything. This is the practical question. In certain cases, the doctors decide as we saw in previous shiurim, that the Tzitz Eliezer was a very big machmir when it came to end of life. And he said you have to try everything. Even though there were poskim that said that in certain cases when a person suffers, you're allowed to stand still and not to give him treatment, the Tzitz Eliezer was from the big machmirim. And the Tzitz Eliezer says, interesting enough, Stam, I'm telling you it now, b'ma'amar Musgar, one of the, at the time when they spoke about this topic between all of the poskims, I heard once from Professor Steinberg that he said that that the Tzitz Eliezer was very, very adamant about it, and he said that if you, for example, put someone, the question that comes up is what happens if you put someone by mistake on a respirator. Okay, you put someone by mistake on a respirator. For example, they show you a DNR, or someone that, according to the hospital, you're not supposed to put him on a respirator, and you put him on a respirator. Okay, according to the protocol of the hospital, what do you do? As from Jews, we have a problem of stopping to give treatment bekum v'asei. We have a problem with that, right? We have a major problem between kum v'asei and shevel taiseh, where in the secular world they don't understand the difference. If he's not supposed to be on there, so he shouldn't be. Nobody understands the difference between ma'aseh b'yodayim to a shevel taiseh. That is only a Jewish concept, a halachic concept. So the question, so they came up with this idea. And this goes back. I don't know how much it's practical. I mean, everything could be practical today. But the idea there was that they suggested to put the respirator on some type of like a Shabbos clock that stops it every once a week, once a day, whatever, to clean it. And then you don't have to put him back. So I asked Professor Steinberg, yeah, but that, according to the Tzitz Eliezer, is still a question, because even though he gives you, okay, the question is again what? That now he's off the respirator and you didn't take him off. But according to the Tzitz Eliezer, it's machmir that you have to treat someone all the time. right? If he has any life, now you have to treat him. So again, what does it help you that you took him off the respirator in a halachic way, but at the end of the day, you have to put him on again. According to the other poskim, so I didn't do, now it's Sheval Taise. But according to that, okay, so anyhow, that's mamish off topic. Let's go back. So here he says, ידוע שבקרים מסוימים מחליטים הרופאים שלא יבצעו פעולות החייאה כגון מחולה זקן שאינו מתפקד בגלל מחלה או פגיעה קשה במוחו, על אף שלפי ההלכה הוא נקרא חי לכל דבר, and he says in America, בארצות הברית הדבר גם מוגן בחוק, he says that in America it's also, okay, by law, אם בחולה כזה יחליטו צמד רופאים יחד עם המשפחה לא לבצע לעת הצורך כל פעולת החייאה, right? If somebody says not what's called DNR, so or DNI, so you're not allowed to. אם יהיה אסור מטעם המדינה לרופא לעשות כן. שאלתי איפה מה יעשה רופא שומר תורה ומצוות? What should do a firm doctor שנמצא על יד חולה כזה? האם יעשה מה שדורש ממנו ההלכה ועל ידי זה יוכל לאבד פרנסתו ורישיונו? He's going to lose his license and his פרנסה, או האם מותר לו לעבור עליו שאין בו מעשה ואף לאו חמור שלא ישמו עד כאן לשוינו. Now he wants to say that the Chura, if you remember, the Rambam said that lo yisam adam recho, that is kiyum oilom. So there he wants to say, barishona benogah lo yisase shebo ma'ase matzinu gdolei poskim nagoyen hachasam sofer. The Chasam Sofer in Siman Tov Reish Nun Vav sheichria b'zeh. That's regarding Dalid Minim. Lefi hanus daiti lo yibe mitzvah saseh velo yisase talya mitzvah. Nothing to do with a lav or a mitzvah saseh. Elo oy kum ve'avoy. When somebody tells somebody, you go and do an avera, and if not, I'm going to take all of your mamon, then we say, give him everything and don't do one avera. What's the pshat? The pshat is, says the Chasam Sofer, kum ve'avor, get up and do something like that. Get up and turn off the plug. That is usher. Okay, take him up. That is kum v'avor. Okay, I don't want to go into that. Only in such a case. A person is not obligated to spend all of his money, all of his wealth, for example. What happens? A kohen, right, is not supposed to leave from karbonis that he's allowed to eat till the morning. So that is a lav she'ein boy ma'isa, right? He doesn't have to give all of his money in order to do that. Why? Because it says the Chasam Sofer, that is a lav she'ein boy ma'isa. So therefore, what? So we have a very clear answer to this from the Chasam Sofer. That what? That lo yisamid adam reyecha is not something that we tell you kum ve'avor, go and do. We tell you stay back. In such a case, you don't have to give all of your money. I'm skipping to base. That what the mikevon the chamire kule alme lo iplige de tzorich lo itzi kol momoinoi umistamech lechazek svoroso ma shematza shesover ken gam besefer marcheshes. Okay, the marcheshes learns from that the Gemara says, we learned that Gemara that mitvach ve'agurei, the Gemara said that maybe he won't have to do that, and the question is, what is mitvach ve'agurei? Do I have to spend all my money or not? And the Gemara said that the difference is between what? Lo yisamod ala and Rav Asher Weiss of mitvach ve'agure. Ulefianan ani uzdaiti de lo yiken ve'kedaver. Ze loshono. Okay, and he goes here to explain the Gemara, and he says the following: Nechure mashma be'emet pashas dibra Gemara be'leshoina shel Rashi kededaik besefer hamarcheshes hanal shemedubar hu afilu himu begavno sheyafsid. על ידי כן ממוינו, אף על פי כן למדי מעל יסם אדם רכו שמחויב אנו להפסיד אפילו כל ממוינוי. כדי שלא יעבור עליו דרסמויד על דם רעך. אולם, listen to this, לאחר היו נראה שאין הוכחה לכך, כי יש לפרש שכמובן הסגמור בזה היא, רק זאת שמחויב לטרוח, לחזר אחר האנשים שיצילו, אבל המגר הגורה שמר בהגמורה שמחויב גם זאת, הוא רק בגבנה שיוכל אחר כך, לחזור ולגבות מהניצול הכסף שהפסיד. And that I hinted to you before, that there's a big machlokes in the Rishonim. The fact that I am mechuyev to go, and the Gemara says to megar aguri, to go and hire people. I'll hire people, but who pays the bill? And there's a difference if the person has to pay or he doesn't have to pay. What happens if you know that he doesn't have to, so you have to let him die there? That's the question. It's a big machlokes amongst the Rosh and others. So he wants to say, and he brings it from the Chavas Yoyer, that since I have the right to go and to take it from somebody that I am saving, so he wants to say, so therefore, I'm not, therefore the pshat is I don't have to be mafsid all of my mamain. That is a raya that I don't have to be mafsid all of my mamain, because you have to pay it. The same thing here. If by treating this person, for example, he signed a DNR, DNI, I am doing against the law, I'm doing against the law. If I treat him in such a case by doing against the law, I'm risking my parnas and I'm risking my license. In such a case, he wants to say a person is not obligated to risk. And this is only, I touched mamish ketipa shebayam from this whole topic. But this is the topic that basically I recommend you to learn these things. And like this, we'll end with this last piece. לאור האמור אני מסכם, אודות השאלה שנשאלתי להלוך למעשה ואומר, שמכיוון שהרופא עלול לאבד את פרנסתו ורישיונו, ואם לא יציית לחוק, and if he's not going to listen or follow the law in this right state, אם כן מותר לו לעבור על עליו שלא ישם נדם רעכו, שהוא לאו שאין בו מעשה, ולא לבצע, okay, not to resuscitate, ועוד לאריכות דברים, and we're not going to continue. So that's what he says, and basically that's what I have to say for today. And Rabbi Yossi, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.